Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, and even more specifically maybe for the last time in Canada. Thrilling stuff. Oh boy, it's been a tumultuous week. How are the Canadian fan bases feeling? How are just fan bases feeling in general this week? Are they broken? Are they happy? Could be a little bit of both. Are they indifferent? Right? Like maybe if you're a Coyotes fan, you're like, we got third. We get the third overall pick. That's exciting. Ooh.
Well, he forgot to introduce himself, but that's Mick.
Oh my gosh, I did.
You got caught up in the excitement of the week that was. This is Mick.
Holy. I think I might just be checked out, guys. I'm sorry. I'm checked out of this podcast. Mick joined on Twitter. Prophet Mick joined every episode. My lovely and talented co-host. Boom.
Boom, Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. But as you can tell, it's been an exciting week. Mixed emotions. I have to say, there's been good, there's been bad, there's been highs, there's been lows. But I don't think it's going to get any better than this weekend that has 5 Game 7s.
5 of them! The best, starting in just a couple hours from this recording date. If you're listening to this before, say, the 2 o'clock game, there's like 9 hours of Game 7 action on a Saturday. And you could follow it up by like 6 hours on a Sunday when you're hungover. It's a good time to be alive.
It is the best time to be alive, especially if you have 2 TVs, because there's also the Jays-Rays on for those baseball fanatics who listen. So you can basically have 2 outstanding series, 2 exciting things to watch at the exact same time for basically, what was that, 4 till about 8 o'clock? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm excited. It's a good sports day.
Oh, it's great. It's great. There's no basketball because the NBA was like, Saturday? No one wants basketball on Saturday. I think they have 2 Game 7s tomorrow. I don't know if the other series concluded.
Yeah, everything's all wrapped up. Golden State, Miami on to the conference finals, awaiting the winners of Milwaukee and whatchamacallit, and then
Phoenix, Dallas.
Boston, and then Dallas, Phoenix.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, good weekend. Great weekend in sports. A lot of news story, a lot of action. Like Grant said, it was a rough week. Some of us aren't doing so well. So, walking around like I lost a loved one the other day. It's unfortunate. But we're going to get into it, unpack it all today. Start with headlines. We're going to run through kind of the week that was, the week that's going to be, give you some gambling advice, talk about our fantasy advice, talk about babes maybe, open the cards. I don't know. We'll see what we get to. So, how do we want to break this down? We go to scores. Do you want to do a recap of like 2 nights ago, and then preview tonight, and then recap last night, and then Sunday? Is there any logical?
That really threw me for a loop here, but I see where you're coming from. I say, why don't we talk about, series today and then series tomorrow, and wherever those conversations organically take us,
right,
we'll paddle that river together.
All right, so to get to here, we have to look back on Thursday, starting with the first game that you'll see today. We got the Boston Bruins being hosted by the lovely and talented Carolina Hurricanes. They have the same talent level as Grant does, so I don't know if I'm insulting you or not.
We're both a little feisty, I will say that. Both a bunch of jerks.
Great back ends. Like, what more do you want? So they came back and they swamped them 5-2. Probably a couple empty net goals, so it's probably a little bit closer than that score indicates. Setting up an epic Game 7. How'd they? Never saw that coming. Weren't the Hurricanes up like 3-1 or something in that series at some point?
So the home team has won every game to get this point. So it would have been 2-0, 3-2, and now they're tied heading into Game 7. But the scores have been a little deceiving because I think there's been empty net goals in every game to send every one of the games over the total, which is a little fucky because you think 5-2. The difference between 5-2 or 4-2 and 3-2 is like, I don't know. It makes it seem worse than it was, but from what I've gathered, from what I've seen, this has been a really competitive series, so excited to see how it all shakes out. I can't get a read on this game for the life of me. I can't figure out Game 7. I know, so at the outset of the season, I took Carolina futures, so I'm in a bit of a hedging position.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to. I kind of like Carolina. I'm also not the type of guy to pass up money, so I'll probably make sure that I don't leave empty-handed. But like two of the best analytic teams in the league, so it's good.
That's
good
almost like a good preview for just the rest of the show. Is I'm also in a very good situation in some of these series, kind of the next couple days to hedge. So we're going to kind of talk about what do you do if you're guaranteed money, right? Do you go all in? Do you try and just get a little bit? And we kind of talk about our experiences there. So I guess that gets us to the second game tonight then. If we're undecided, myself, I have nothing. I haven't watched, I don't think, very little outside of some like commercial breaks here and there of the series. So I'm kind of excited to sit back, watch what these teams can do. It's the up and comings versus the kind of veterans, right? So we'll see what happens on home ice. Home ice advantage. I guess I kind of like that. So go Canes.
Yeah, that's the part. It just feels like such a trap, though. Like the home teams won every time. They're going to win all 7 games. I don't know. Yeah. And the betting price is like just tempting enough to think that Carolina's a lock, but then you're like, Carolina isn't a lock. Like I'm not going to bet 135 on that, like minus 135. So that's why I just can't get a read on it. I'm not going to force the issue. Like I said, I might just sprinkle something on Boston so that if they do win, then I'm not empty-handed. But
or if they potentially go up early and it's like 2-0 Boston, you could get Carolina as an underdog and then like make some money regardless or something, right? So
yeah, and that's not. I mean, the advent of live betting has made hedging or even arbitrage, on everyone's game. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, no play yet.
All right. So then that takes us to second game tonight. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs hosting the lovely and talented Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, Game 7, home ice. Let's go.
They've never been disappointed before. Am I right?
No disappointment. I don't even know what that is, right? Like you could be living high, Game 5, come back from a couple goal deficit. World's your oyster. You're up after 2, and then Tampa Bay squeaks one out. It's a shame.
I was playing softball that night, so I didn't get to watch the game, but we were checking scores intermittently, and it seemed inevitable after they tied it up that Toronto would go on to lose. So not saying they got what they deserved, but kind of the narrative has written itself for Game 7 because this is basically Toronto's mountain to climb. Like, this is their Goliath to slay. 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions on home ice, Game 7. This is for Kyle Dubas's job right now. This is what it boils down to in his world.
You say that, but like, and you said that, but that loss, I think that at least from my point of view, watching like Maple Leafs Twitter, I don't know if I've ever seen a less disappointing group of people because they did nothing wrong. They had something like 4 turnovers, 2 of them resulted in goals, and they had 2 errant penalties that weren't actually penalties. Like that first penalty that kind of led to that 5-on-3 moment. I think whoever stick it was, I forget at the moment, maybe Hall hit Cal Foot in the shoulder pad, and Cal Foot clearly faked it. Like on the replay, he hits him in the shoulder pad, and he gives one of these and like is holding his face afterwards. So that's not a penalty. And then during the penalty kill, Hedman has Kerfoot's stick on his arm and like grabs it and throws it into his face, causing the second penalty. Right, so that was kind of their only mistake they made that like lost them that game. And I don't know, like.
What you're describing is the randomness of hockey that will just drive people crazy because there's there's no way to like.
And the tying goal, Corey Perry interferes with Jack Campbell as the goal scored, and Braden Point's chin strap's not done up. So in theory, he should have been off the ice, but he's out there on the ice trying to get in on the play, not wearing the proper protection, right? So I don't know. As a result, there was also some penalties definitely not called towards the end of that Toronto game, which is kind of infuriating, and it was kind of the refs weren't calling anything. What could players get away with? And you could see them. There was lots of holding, there was grabbing, there was tripping, there was maybe a headshot on Bunting right before the winning goal. So I don't know. Do the refs get kind of a check to say let nothing go tonight, and it becomes a penalty fest like we saw in Game 5, right? Like was Game 6 just kind of going towards the means on penalty calls after Game 5, which was kind of a penalty fest. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what to take. Run it back next year, right? Like I saw a lot of that on kind of Twitter yesterday where guys are just saying like, I kind of feel like you just run this back next year and you get them like this is the team that's going to try and like get you closest to a championship. So kind of go. And I think it kind of boils down more to that than say like big changes, right? Maybe a new coach or something, but
no, I guarantee you I will fucking die on this hill. If the Leafs lose, Kyle Dubas is out of a job.
Is done.
Trust me, I know what you're saying, and I think that this was analytically one of the best teams in the league, without question. But hockey, Toronto in general, is premised on winning. And this has been Kyle Dubas' baby for the last, 5-6 years?
Yeah.
And he's had all the pieces in place, and he keeps saying, this is it, this is it, this is it. If they fail to get out of the first round, Kyle Dubas will be looking through the want ads, and they'll win. It'll be akin to... I can't even remember. But basically, they'll win next year with the exact same team because you're right, they are the best team and they do deserve to win.
I see what you're saying.
But Kyle Dubas will get none of the credit because it'll be whoever's in charge next year.
It might be how it might be how they lose too, right? Like if they lose 7-0 and they just look like they're schooled, sure. But I mean, like in overtime, a phantom call or something like that, a puck ends up in a net randomly, right? Like you might get to a situation like I think after Game 6, you kind of are like, the Maple Leafs didn't lose that game. Like the refs kind of beat them, right? And they kind of couldn't get out of their own way, and one team got lucky, right?
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that Toronto is going to lose the game because I think they win, and I think they win in dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying losing, like not enjoying playoff success, or failing to enjoy playoff success will cost Dubas his job eventually. So, and like I said, I don't think that's the case because I do think this is Toronto's game to lose. And even if we look at the price is coming down, which suggests that people are on the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. But I do think that there's an edge in backing Toronto, especially at -120. And the thing that seals it for me is that if we compare this relative to series prices, when we were talking about this at the outset, Toronto was -130 to win this series. Now we're in a decisive Game 7 on home ice, and Toronto's -120.
Yeah.
So to me, like that, like I know that we can't use logic to solve the betting market, but we can't get to Game 7 and say this is, Toronto's odds are now worse than they were at the outset.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, if we want to talk about just officiating, those 4 men on the ice tonight might be fighting for their life at some point and throwing some penalties the Maple Leafs way just so they can get out of town, because if they cost the game like they did in Game 6, there might be some lynchings. They're talking like old school soccer, like German soccer lynchings out in the streets tonight. So,
and I guess
you can't arrest a mob. That's the thing. You can't arrest a mob. Mob justice.
I've seen enough news in Ottawa and Vancouver to know that, guess what?
Whoa. Let's not get pulled. All right.
But I was just checking to see, because what you're dancing around, or what you said explicitly, is talking about the refs. And I think that there's a lot to be. One of the things that I really enjoy watching about the postseason is seeing the calls, seeing the missed calls, and seeing how this impacts refs. And truthfully, I haven't seen enough of actual action and game action to see which refs are, at least appear to be performing well and which ones don't appear to be performing well. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because not everybody, it's just officials in the postseason is exactly like the teams. Not everybody advances.
Yeah.
Some guys are left in the first round because they make shitty calls. Yeah. So maybe cross-reference your analysis with who's in the next round to see, were the Game 6 officials, did they shoot themselves in the foot with their shitty calls?
Interesting.
And did that cost them, playoff games and as things intensify?
Oh, and it was just, other than those 2 calls, like I think the game was called consistently start to finish, and it was just the lack of calls, right? And they kind of went over that during one of the intermissions where they were just talking about how hard that is to play, because there's that fine line between a penalty and not a penalty if they're not going to call a penalty, right? Like you can get away with a lot, just you don't want to overdo it, right? So it kind of almost makes it harder to play in, but that's enough. We don't need to talk about the Maple Leafs. We'll talk about them again, I'm sure. So, Wild series to talk about next, the Wild Blues. Thought home run, no problem. Cam Talbot, Fleury, one of the better teams defensively, offensively in the league, with the Minnesota Wild going up against this below metrics darling in the Blues. or I guess over metrics, darling. 4-2. What the heck happened?
Overachieving. Well, they call lightning in a bottle. So I did a dive on this earlier in the week. What we're seeing now from St. Louis, and that is the latter half of the series, with Jordan Binnington in net, we're seeing performances akin to their 2019 Stanley Cup run. And that is, they tighten things up defensively, and Binnington kind of regained that Stanley Cup winning form. And then they've also kind of transformed their offense to be less run and gun and more opportunistic. And that was really the difference in the sense that they're not... In 2019, we didn't see this team just fucking go and trade blows. It didn't work in the first part of the series. They switched goalies. And then what we saw in the latter half of the series was that, you know what? We're just going to take our opportunities as they present themselves. And it worked. And the crazy thing is that we've seen from the Blues that this pays off. Like, this is their bread and butter. This is how they enjoyed success on their Stanley Cup run, was to play this lockdown opportunistic style. Minnesota shot themselves in the foot by putting Talbot in for Game 6. Like, granted, Fleury wasn't his sharpest, but the turning point in this series was when Minnesota blew that 2-1 lead in the third period and lost 5-2. After that, St. Louis had... I know fucking momentum is just one of these buzzwords, but St. Louis had all the momentum. They were in the Wild's head from that point on, and then it was just, you know, a goalie switching Game 6. Like, it just made no sense to me, and I think that was the X factor in Game 6, where I was like, you know what, St. Louis is winning this, because, no offense to Cam Talbot, but Fleury was 17-3-2 since he joined the Wild in the regular season. You abandoned him in your must-win game. Didn't feel right.
And I mean, like, we were talking about the dooming of a franchise, say, in the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's lots of Game 7s. I mean, realistically, not everyone needs to panic. The Minnesota Wild literally might need to panic. So here you are, super competitive, young team, you know, top to bottom. They're built well. They can't overcome this obstacle for whatever reason, right? Again, you pick up Fleury to win in the postseason. Why are you not playing him? I don't know. There is a scenario that this summer, Zach Parise and Ryan Sutter take their skates, tie them up for the very last time, and hang them on a shelf, and they say, we're done, we walk away. There's a chance that both players are traded or they retire. There is a potential cap recapture penalty coming Minnesota's way of $40 million if both those players decide to retire this summer. That's half the cap is going to be tied up in just those two contracts. That essentially, what do you do with that? Like, how do you field a team for $40 million, stay competitive in their current environment? I mean, if you have some cap space coming up and that happens, you might as well just call up Minnesota and throw 5th-round picks at them, pick up whoever you want, and build some type of super franchise, right? I mean, the Minnesota Wild, in theory, could just move out to, say, something like a Seattle, and say, all right, we're going to be competitive. We're just going to take all these Wild players. They're going to come here and play half their cap. That is an absolute nightmare that's coming in this franchise's future, and that's how their season ends. So as a Minnesota Wild fan, you're now looking at blew this opportunity against a lesser team, and your franchise might be done. Like, absolutely just abysmal. Like,
I don't want to paint a super negative picture here, but they could potentially have to play at a college hockey team stadium to try and make things work, which is unheard of in the NHL. Yeah.
So I did just pulled up an article. I think this was written in like October or something. But like, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know. That's like, we want to talk about doom and gloom, and then what do you like? I don't know. I don't want to think about it. So maybe we'll see Zach Parise, who I'm thinking probably doesn't have a lot left. Sutter, I could see. Even then, I don't know. Find out.
We will find out. There's two things you brought up in each of these last two segments that I'm excited to talk about when we get to where we're landing after this one. So,
all right, awesome. And then finally, the Oilers. Insurmountable odds. They got to win the next two games. They're in the hostile. It's not Staples Center. It's
Crypto.com Arena.
Awful. I'm just going to call it Staples Center. In the Staples Center, the hostile environment of LA, everyone's wearing flip-flops, everyone's got a six-pack. What are you going to do? And I'm not talking about beer, Edmonton Oilers fans. I know you guys are all proud of your six-packs. These are actual hard-grain kale smoothie six-packs. And they win. They come out, they score like 2 seconds into the game. McDavid's like, boys, we got this, let's go. They force a Game 7 as well.
They almost didn't do it, and I don't. I came in just again. So as mentioned, I was playing softball. Came in, I caught some of the second, all of the third period. And what caught me off guard at the second intermission was they were up 2-0. They go up 3-0, allegedly, and no goal. They didn't challenge. I know that some of the panel was defending this move. It made no sense to me. Like, you trust your team to get it done. Mm-hmm. They got it done, and you're like, eh. And the argument was, don't put yourself at a disadvantage. But to me, it was obvious. Like, you're looking at this guy drive an Oilers player into Jonathan Quick. Maybe it was Edler. I can't remember. They score, and then they don't even have the kahunas to challenge the play. Mm-hmm. What I've seen from Edmonton this postseason is you were talking about phantom calls in Game 6. That was what happened to Edmonton in, was it Game 6 or was it Game 5, where Ryan Nugent-Hopkins didn't even cross-check a guy, but basically just like directed him away from the goalie. Grundstrom, that's who it was. And Grundstrom goes down like he shot. LA comes back and scores, and that was Game 5. Edmonton lost on home ice. So it's interesting to see how these calls are going to pay off in the game, and how they're going to impact things long term for teams that advance and officials that advance. But it just feels like we have this fucky standard right now, where it's like, it's not the playoff standard that I'm used to from officials, where there's a lot more leeway, there's a lot more give. It's more, any of the slightest contact or anything that is a perceived imbalance is like, nope, that's a penalty these days. Which, like I said, isn't something that I've expected from postseason officiating over the last few years.
Yeah, and I mean, it pains me as a fan that we're sitting here not talking about Austin Matthews and the Victor Hedmans, and the great offensive talents like the McDavids or the Philip Deneaus. We're sitting here talking about officials, right? And that pains me a little bit, and I don't know, it definitely hurts the product. And I'm here. NHL, you got me. Like, I'm a fan. You're gonna get my money in some way, shape, or form. But then you guys that are coming in and watching this, like, I would be turned off personally, right? That this is kind of the discussion that you have to have. So hopefully they clear things up. And again, we're not talking about goaltending or refereeing, right? Like, that sucks. Also, Philip Deneau, remember when he scored like one goal for Montreal last year and like one goal in the postseason? He was just a shutdown defensive forward, and now given a role to actually score, he's actually showing that he has offensive capabilities. It's kind of strange, right? I feel like too often we don't talk about players' talent is kind of tainted by the system that we're in, and we never really get a full showcase of what players can actually do, right? So some guys surprise you. So
yeah, and this is, you've heard me say this before, but players are a function of their system. Mm-hmm. Todd McClellan has a great track record of getting the most out of his players, so I'm sure that's part of it. And I think that's kind of analogous to the team as a whole, because, the sum is, what is that old saying? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Yeah. You're talking about Grundstrom, Alex Edler, Troy Stecher, Trevor Moore, beating Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Evander Kane, like, get the fuck out of here. Yep. So kudos to them for getting this far. They found a way to shut down McDavid. As fucky as that sounds, Connor McDavid has 12 points through 6 games, been on the ice for 18 of Edmonton's 25 goals. Somehow they're still finding a way to limit him, and it's just these small or mental lapses that just cost them in the heat of the moment. Jonathan Quick, his 89.3% save percentage isn't really doing the Kings many favors, but the Kings have outshot Edmonton in, I believe, 4 of 6 games, something like that. So the there's not enough skill in LA to compete, but they're still finding a way to neutralize and even things out. So this is Game 7. I'm trying not to get too invested in it because I know that, inevitably life is going to end in disappointment. So we'll see. I'm just hoping that we all have fun. I'm not tempting the universe with fate. I'm just hoping everyone has fun.
That sounds sad.
It is. It's fucking pathetic.
I feel you. So then we jumped to last night's action. We saw the Rangers came back after being down 2-0 against the Penguins without Sidney Crosby, I might add, to tie that series 3-3 to force a Game 7. I think in with the Rangers tomorrow night. Any comments on that game, that series?
Yes, actually. So I fell asleep watching Game 6 last night. Haven't spent a whole bunch of time watching it otherwise. Talk about the Penguins overcoming adversity. No, they're down to the third-string goaltender. Louis Domingue, God bless his spirit, God bless his heart. He's doing all right. Sidney Crosby missed last night's contest, but they still staked themselves to a 2-0 lead. It feels like the Rangers have all the momentum going into Game 7, but I'm not ruling out Pittsburgh. Crosby was practicing today, probably a good omen he plays in Game 7. I think experience, skill's going to beat experience, but Pittsburgh has more skill than people are giving them credit for, so don't look past Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 7.
Awesome. And then the Panthers, also down, I believe, 2-1. There was a period there where I was watching kind of TV last night and made sure to kind of flip between these games. I didn't see the overtime winner. However, I saw the end of the third period where they tied it up, or the Capitals tied it up late on a power play. Empty net. Oof, gotta love it. But the Panthers, Verhaeghe scored his sixth goal or something in 3 games. Good job, that guy. Move on to face the winner of, I guess, Boston, Carolina. No, I guess the winner of Tampa Bay. Yeah, all right, yeah.
But one guy who deserves a lot of credit is Claude Giroux. This guy's just been playing out of his mind. Analytically, it's crazy that Philadelphia was willing to move on from their captain and best players easily or as quickly as they did. And the Panthers benefited from it. There's the skill, the leadership, the two-way play. He does everything right. And he's surrounded by young, talented players. Does Joe Thornton still play on the Panthers? Because I would love it if Joe Thornton won a Stanley Cup.
He does. I don't know if he's playing right now. I don't know if he's just healthy scratch or hurt or something like that. I was kind of thinking that, his journey, as it were. We'll see kind of how that goes. Jumbo Joe. There, advancing for the first time in since 96, 98. It'd be embarrassing if you haven't advanced in the first rounds in that long. I don't even know if they made the playoffs in the last 25 years. So good job, Panthers.
I'm just gonna check old Jumbo Joe's game log here because he better get a start in the playoffs, even if it's just a token 4-minute appearance, so that he could say I was a part of that. Man, he's played in a lot of playoff games. Not too far down. He has not played yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a number. You have to guess over under. Over under 190 playoff games played.
Over under. I'm going to go under. I'm guessing he's 180 something.
Wow, yeah, he was good. 186.
Yeah.
That's a lot of playoff games, though.
The Sharks were a good team. The fact that team does not have 1 or 2 rings to show for it. They were a, stalwart team since kind of 2004, right? And basically the entire Jumbo Joe run, they were a dominant force in the West, and they just couldn't get out of their own ways a lot, right? To no one's fault, but lots of those guys, like Patrick Marleau retired this week. Big shout out to that guy. It's a shame he didn't, when he was chasing a cup late in his career, he didn't get one, because I think that's him and Joe are kind of those guys that deserve it, right? They chased their whole career, never got there. It's too bad in their later years, the guys couldn't step up and win one for him.
Well, I feel you with Marleau. I feel like that guy's career was just anticlimactic. Great hockey player, found a way to win, found a way to compete. He was I don't know, he was right behind Keith Yandel in the all-times game played record book. couldn't find a place to play. And yeah, it just feels like it was sex with Grant, just like constant disappointment, just constant letdown with Patrick Marleau. Is he a Hall of Famer in your opinion, even though he doesn't have a cup or any like distinctions?
I think so. Like he's got two gold medals with Canada. Just the amount of postseasons, right? Like if you look at winning seasons is kind of more of a metric than say the championship. I mean, I imagine winning seasons with that guy, they must have had it was like 15-3 or something like that. If he kind of like made the playoffs, didn't throughout his career. So I don't know. I would say probably Cup definitely helps. I don't know if he had too many regular season accolades, to be honest with you, but he was a big part of like Hockey Hall of Fame, because it's not just the NHL, it's Hockey Hall of Fame. I think what his work in Vancouver, I think you have to give it to him.
So he, veteran of 1,779 NHL games, just shy of 1,200 points.
Yeah.
No notable distinctions. He's an all-star, looks like a couple times. That was about it. Didn't even crack... Oh, he finished third in Bing trophy voting back in 2005, 2006.
Well, and maybe I talked myself out of my point, and I think my initial point was it was a shame he didn't win a cup because I think he needs those accolades. So I don't know if I would give him a Hall of Fame vote, even though I think his career, Joe Thornton, the work that they've done, probably deserves it. It just doesn't have that shine to it, right? So Joe probably more. He has at least an MVP in there, and an Art Ross, I believe, along the way. So.
Yeah, Thornton, without question, to be as a Hall of Famer. 1779 is impressive.
Yeah.
195 playoff games. I don't know. I'm torn. I'm leaning towards no as well, but I know that there's a pretty loose standard in Canada for Canadians getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And then Flames, Stars couldn't do it last night in Big D. The C just came up short. Sucks. Usually it's the D that comes up short. So we are going to see a Game 7 tomorrow night as well. Just couldn't get it done. What looked like a foregone conclusion early on. Flames were going to win this series, scoring 8 goals in total. Not so much.
They, yeah. You know what I get a kick out of? We'll get to the on-ice product, but Daryl Sutter's post-game interviews after a loss are just the best. The guy's so pissed off. He doesn't want to be around anybody, and you can tell he's just agitated fielding these dumb questions. I don't know. I enjoy it. Yeah. That's the entertainment that some of the hockey games have been missing.
As much as I would have loved to just see the Canadian teams in Game 6, Game 5s that had the chance advance, right? Win in advance. You're going to do it no problem. Would have been nice. Game 7s are a lot of fun, right? And we have 5 of them. So of the 8 series, 5 of them went to Game 7s. It just shows the competitiveness of this league, right? Lots of the series that went, I mean, really, there was one sweep? The Avs kind of swept the Preds. Preds were probably one of those questionable playoff teams anyways. But I would have put Dallas in that same situation, so I don't know what that says about the Calgary Flames and their kind of postseason stature. I mentioned, we have seen it before. It's not a foregone conclusion. The Flames just advance, right? So it is exciting. It should be lots of fun the next couple days. And again, have fun. Don't cry. Don't crawl into a hole. I've already started digging my little depression hole in my basement. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to crawl in there probably around like 8 o'clock tonight and just think about what I've done. So,
well, don't think too hard, but I am excited to see the hole that you've carved out in your basement.
Yeah,
that's kind of exciting. Little hidey hole.
Yep. Yeah, just a dank little hole I can hang out in. So, I have nothing to add with that one, too. I kind of was hoping, when I saw the Oilers in Game 7, I was like, it'd be kind of fun if the Flames were there, too. But that's kind of all I have to add to that, unless you have anything else to add. Flames, Stars?
I think I have to say this. I just have to say it out loud. Calgary's fans don't deserve nice things. The team is great. They deserve to get past Dallas. But Calgary fans don't deserve nice things. And look, like, if you look at the playoff atmosphere, even last night in Dallas, where there was, like, people, like, basically the last 10 minutes of the third, everybody was on their feet watching the game, cheering things on. Watch Game 7 in Calgary, and you will see fans basically sitting in their seats all the time. There's a little bit of manufactured noise at the beginning, a little bit of manufactured noise at the end. or when they score. But otherwise, it's just fans sitting down. It doesn't feel like they actually care. It's more about like the optics of, oh, we're at the arena, as opposed to, I actually want this team to win. So
yeah, fair weather is a good way of describing it for sure. I definitely don't feel the emotion in the city after the losses as you think you would. And I mean, the fact it's a business, the fact that we don't have some type of open air seating arrangement, right? Like we've seen in other situations. I know you and I went out in 2019 for the Jurassic Parks, like the Raptors outdoor games, right? Like we went out and they tried to throw together kind of a last little minute cute thing. The fact that isn't a permanent establishment at the Saddle Dome outside in the parking lot, and they're like, nah, hey guys pay $20 to park there. We can't just take away a bunch of spots to let people for free come and like add to the environment. Probably goes to show of just, I don't know, like people probably wouldn't show up. It's like, you know,
yeah,
I don't know. That's we'll see. Hopefully, I don't know. Yeah, fuck the Flames fans.
There it is. There's the raw emotion we come to expect from Mick. So, anyways, again, not tempting the universe with fate or anything. It would be nice if the Battle of Alberta came through. But if the Oilers win, I will be actively, or if the Oilers lose, I will be actively cheering against the Flames, because I don't want the Oilers to lose and the Flames to move on.
Yeah,
I'm petty like that.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, I would like to see 3 advance, but like if none of them made it, I'd also be like, at least all Canadians teams suck, right? Like we have to have a referendum against everybody, right? And what about the Winnipeg Jets? We throw them under the bus. They suck too.
Imagine not even making the postseason, but thinking you're good enough to be there. Winnipeg.
Embarrassing is what it is. All right, so with that, we know what's going to happen. We know Game 7s. You've got kind of a pulse, kind of a feel. We've got 2 things to get through. So we got to talk about our fantasy lineup from last week, set up what's going to happen tonight. We have to give you our gambling advice, and then we have to decide if all the Canadian teams lose, because we are the Canada Puck podcast. Do we also lose? We do a post-mortem next week, and then we shut it down for the season? I don't know. Is that going to happen? Nah, they'll all win. We got this. We got like another couple weeks. It's fine.
No, you know what? This is exactly the way Canada Puck podcast ends every year. Oh, don't worry, we'll be back with a year-end wrap-up. No, guess what? Next Saturday, we're going to be hungover golfing, and we're not going to record anything.
This might be the penultimate episode, guys. Just FYI. So with that, fantasy or gambling first? Let's go away from the games for a second. So like, let it breathe. We'll come back to it. So let's do fantasy, FanDuel. How'd you do last week?
You know what? I was just wondering that myself, because I know it wasn't good. I'm just trying to gauge how bad it actually was. So, excitement building. 89.8 points, 698th out of 772.
Should have stopped while we were ahead. Should have just stopped while we were far behind ourselves. That's all. That's too bad.
This is like the roulette, or not the roulette. This is like the VLTs of gambling for me, where it's like, you know what? I just guess and hope for, pull the trigger or hope for the best.
Right.
2 guys. So Crosby was okay last week. I mentioned that I was expecting big things from him. 24 points. Roman Josi 18.9. Artemi Panarin has been my boy from the get-go. 20 points, and that was basically it. Connor Ingram pooped himself. Mikael Granlund actually 11.7 is not so bad, but Luke Glendening, Jeremy Lauzon 1.6, Brian Rust 1.6. You know, bits and pieces. I had bits and pieces. Right. How'd you do?
I finished 4th, so I was in a 10-man, 50-50. I got 4th, 141.1. The winner was 144.1, so I was only 3 points off the lead of this pool. I did all right, kind of top to bottom. Jakob Markstrom lost. Crappy pick. Jamie Benn and Tyler Toffoli got 1.6 and 4.8 points respectively, so my utility spots were just throwaways. I had Jeff Carter in there. I think he had like a 2 or 3 goal night. Like he put up something stupid. Anyways, let's not talk about that. Mike Matheson, my all-star, 31.4 points on defense, and I think he was worth like maybe $3,800. So good job by me. Matthias Ekholm, 19.7, and then Panarin, Lindholm both got about 20 points. Andrew Kopp, just like the NHL.com told you should put him, because he got 20 points. And Mika Zibanejad, one other at 11.2. So not bad, not terrible. Had some big performances kind of on the back end.
Quick question. Right. How did the NHL.com goalie do last week?
He had 10 less points than my guys, so technically if you would have followed that advice, you still would have got. Like, you could have cashed in this pool, so that's exciting.
Not having a goalie still would have paid off. Bold strategy.
Who did you have? Didn't you have Nashville's goalie? How many points did Nashville's goalie have?
I told you, 1.6.
1.
We don't have to relive this.
So your goalie had 1.6 more points than the NHL.coms. Cool.
Boom.
Cool. I was watching that when he was just getting peppered there at some point. I was like, that sucks. Like that's what you get for like ragging on NHL.com. Anyways, let's go back to NHL.com and just see how they're doing. So this is live reactions. They're saying for Saturday night, we want Patrice Bergeron. He's great value at center. Evander Kane on the wing. You can't go wrong. Jakub Slavin. And then they want Andrei Vasilevsky. All right, in goal. So they actually have a goalie tonight. I think I have a couple of those guys. So, cool.
You know what? I was just going through the steps in my head, and I've arrived at a very exciting conclusion, and that is, 1, I fucking suck at this. 2, I'm gonna mix it up today instead of sticking with my gut.
All right.
So Mick, talk me into who I should have.
I lied. I do not. I took out Patrice Bergeron, I think, for Ross Colton. I don't know how I feel about that. Do I have enough money to get Patrice Bergeron back in my lineup? I don't. Well, Ross Colton, I guess I'm stuck with you. Unless I want Philip and Deneau. Charlie Coyle? Now we'll go with Ross Colton. All right, so starting on the back end, I believe in the Edmonton Oilers. Of all the Canadian teams, to be honest with you, right now I would say my confidence level in the Oilers coming through and beating the Kings is the highest. I don't know where this confidence is coming from. So I like Mike Smith. I'm going to get a big dub in net, $8,000. It's great. Unless I could use that extra $1,000 to get like a better goalie. Oh, I could. All right, well, maybe we'll come back to that one. On the back end, I've got Eric Holla and Brandon Hagel from the Red Deer Rebels. I've heard that about 6 times already in this postseason, so that's pretty exciting. The fact I keep hearing his names, he made some mistakes. He was in on that winning goal. I think that guy with his hustle, he's going to give you something. Jakub Slavin and Darnell Nurse on the back end, $300 and $5,000 respectively, which means I've got lots up front. Again, I believe in the Oilers. So I've got Connor McDavid, $9,700 up front. Ross Colton, $44 at center. Steven Stamkos at $8,000. He's kind of got a rat face. He's starting to piss me off a little bit. I never really cared about Stamkos, but I don't know. He's just bugging me. I hope if he wins today, he gets swept by Florida. So that would be fun. And finally, Zach Hyman at $5,200, which leaves me with $1,100 and kind of my choice of goalies. I'm just going to emotionally stay away from the Tampa Bay, the Jack Campbells, the Vasilevsky, and I'm going to stay with Mike Smith. Maybe Grant can talk me into something else nice. Grant, who you got?
Well, I had basically loaded up on Boston players, Bruins, and Hurricanes. When I recall my analysis from earlier, where I was like, you know what, this has actually been a pretty tight checking series. Why the fuck would I load up? I had 5 guys between the series. I was like, why would I load up on these guys if I don't even think there's going to be many goals? So it's not all rocks up here.
All right.
So I'm mixing it up, and your confidence in the Oilers is akin to my confidence in the Maple Leafs because I had the Leaf stack, but
you fucking simp.
Yeah, you know what? I am simping.
I'm over here fucking blowing you. You're blowing me. 69. We should just call this the 69 segment. My dirty fantasy. It's true.
So I was just frigging around with a whole bunch of stuff here. I don't have my second center figured out because I took Austin Matthews out. Yeah. I think I had the top line, but I also had Antti Ranta in that. I'm less convinced Antti Ranta is the guy. So I switched out Antti Ranta for Jack Campbell, paired with Mitch Marner and Michael Bunting, and then I have to figure out who my center is going to be. Okay. Patrice Bergeron is another center I've gone with. I paired him with Jake DeBrusk and on the Bruins. My other utility spot is Andreas Athanasiou, who has been just terrorizing Edmonton with his speed. Edmonton doesn't have an answer. I might, take him out. How many players can you have? Can I have 4 Leafs? Because if I can...
Yeah, I think so. I think 4 is the most, yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, All right, perfect. You know what? I'm starting to figure things out. I put Austin Matthews back in. I got the whole top line. Evan Bouchard, Brady Shea with the Hurricanes. I'm gonna have to. I got one spot left. You know what? This is gonna get a little fucky here. We're gonna take out Brady Shea. That's 36.5. All right. Go down here. I'm gonna get basically the cheapest defenseman I can, and then I'm gonna figure out who I'm taking for my utility spot.
All right, who's a $4,000 goal? Let's see if we can help him out. Hampus Lindholm, Boston, $4,000. Not horrendous, right? Like if you want guys, Mike Riley is right there as well. Who else? Alexander Edler. That guy is still playing hockey. Wow, sucks for that guy.
Sucks the big one.
How much money do you need to save here?
That's okay. I figured it out.
Right.
Magical combination here. All right, top to bottom. Austin Matthews, Patrice Bergeron, Mitchell Marner, Michael Bunting, Evan Bouchard, Brendan Smith, defenseman with the Hurricanes, Jake DeBrusk, Jesper Fast, and Jack Campbell. Boom. Save. It would suck if everything locked while I was coming up with this magical entry, but nope. We're all good.
Nice. Awesome. One change, I did take out Eric Holla for Alex Killorn, second line for $5,100. So there, hedging a little bit. I don't know if Tampa gets shut out tonight. And it's probably going to be some garbagey goals. So I feel like Killorn's the name that shows up on the stat sheet in those kind of situations. Between him, Colton, and Stamkos. Is that worth like 12 points?
Well,
all right.
You know what? I think that all we've done is guaranteed ourselves disappointment. But if nothing else, I can take solace in your disappointment as you can in mine.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to keep us going right now. However, we do have. I don't have disappointment right now. I'm emotionally hedged to the moon. So either I'll be a poor man or a rich man, and happy and sadness.
Depressed either way.
Yeah, like if I'm depressed, at least I'll have a couple extra $100 to throw around, which I'm okay with, I suppose. You know, there's like ways to make you happy if you have money, right?
Take those wins; they mean something.
They take it. They take it. So if you remember, a couple weeks ago, before the postseason even started, we got a bonus. The Canada Puck bankroll said, "Hey guys, we love what you've been doing all year on your gambling advice. It's awesome. It's great. We're going to give you $100 free to just throw around, just sprinkle around in a little bit." I've got Nashville. That's a dead bet. We're not keeping that, but I do have $50 riding on the Tampa Bay Lightning at plus 110 for 105, and as well as I have a Battle of Alberta parlay, Edmonton and Flames both alive. I have $40 on that. As a result, my picks today a reflection on that. It's not my normal strategy, but essentially I'm trying to hedge and just get some money either way in Bettor Advice. Grant, how you doing?
I pooped myself again last week. Those overtime bets just hurt me in Minnesota, St. Louis. Otherwise, I had the over in Pittsburgh, in New York. Sorry, I had over in that one.
Okay.
And what was the other one I missed out on? Basically, I went 1 for 3, which is kind of in par for the course this season.
Oh, I won some money last week, because what did I have? I had Tampa Bay winning game on Sunday, so that was a bet at minus 120, as well as I had a 3-team over parlay. So I went over, I think, on the first 3 games. Easy. No problem. Rangers over 6, Colorado 6.5, Washington 6.5. I think lots of those teams scored like 7 points just on their own. So I had one side of the scoreboard basically hitting the overs. I'm a little disappointed that my $10, like I had a plus almost 580. That's almost 6-1 parlay that I hit, and I only put $10 on it. It's unfortunate.
Well, it's nice to get a piece because I keep getting burned.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I wish I would have. I should have gone through my record keeping. I know that I had Leafs minus 130. I can't remember who else was in there, but I'll have to go back and listen and check to see how those first round or those opening bets played out. I only actually have one wager today, and it's an exciting one. But how many do you have?
I have 4.
Woo! Hot diggity.
Woo. So I'm just going to go just so the hedge. So Tampa Bay wins. I got $100 in my pocket. I'm going to put $30 on straight up Toronto. So either way, I'm up at least $50, at least $53. If Tampa Bay wins, it bumps up to $100. I'm going to take individual bets. These are all for $30. Kings and Stars at plus 180 and plus 160 respectively. Just essentially to hedge out of that parlay. If one of the legs falls short, I should be up a greater sum than the parlay essentially I'm up $76. So Edmonton, Calgary both win, $76. If either of those teams stumble, I get at least $78 in my pocket. So I think that's a pretty good spot to be in there. So right there, done. Easy work a couple weeks ago, paying off now. So then that just leaves me with one little parlay for $10. Grant, what's your play?
I have $100 wager. If you were paying attention to what I was saying earlier, you would have heard that I said the Leafs win in dramatic fashion. I bet this game goes to overtime. And the entire time I was thinking or like going through the numbers on this series, I know old Mick's ticker ain't going to make it after this one. But at least you'll leave a beautiful corpse. I don't know if
you can find me in my depression hole. I didn't tell you where my hole was.
Follow the stink.
Yep.
I'll be there in a couple weeks. I'll follow the stink. Don't worry.
All right.
But I think it was 1997. The Edmonton Oilers played the Dallas Stars in Game 7. Todd Marchand, for those historians, you'll remember Todd Marchand flying down the wing and firing a clapper past, I don't even know who the goalie was. Turco? No, maybe it was Turco. I can't remember. Maybe it was Belfour. Whatever the case might be, I have the same kind of feeling that kind of nonsense is going to happen in Game 7 tonight. Only replace Todd Marchand with Mitch Marner. Maybe Austin Matthews. I don't know. One of the two. Whatever the case might be. Plus 330, $100 to win $330. My only play of the day. I'm just hoping for some excitement.
Yeah, I could see that. Looks like Ed Belfour might have been the goalie.
Belfour.
Yeah. Manny Fernandez. Oh, yeah, there we go. That takes us back. Cool. All right. Fact checking. Finally, 3-team parlay, like I said. I'm going to go over 5.5 goals in the Boston game, over in Tampa Bay at 6.5, and over in Edmonton. Parlay those together at plus 533. Throw $10 on that bad boy. So
that's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of exciting hockey. Overs have been a theme for those people. This is not a very well hidden theme. Goals are just flying organically right now. I have a feeling things are going to tighten up in the second round, but I think you're right. You proved this strategy works last week, so why not go back to the well?
That's it. I mean, it's fun to kind of cheer for things to happen, right? So there we go. Emotionally hedged. Yeah, have a lot riding on Tampa Bay tonight. So again, if they win, I'm gonna be all right. I think I'll pull through.
I think they'll. You know what? If nothing else, we will have some fun stuff to dissect in our post-mortem next week, if it ever gets recorded.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll finally commit. Maybe we'll finally commit to something in our lives. See what happens. That's it. Normally, our last segment we can't do. We're done a little bit earlier. Is there anything else? That I was meaning to do that I forgot to do. Draft lottery. I guess we could quickly look at the NHL draft lottery. I don't think anything crazy happened, right? It was just kind of... Isn't it just the order?
You know what? So, yeah, the Habs won the draft lottery. Was Philadelphia... Who finished second? Was it? Oh, it was Jersey finished second.
Yeah.
And then it was Coyotes. I don't know if the Habs really want the first overall pick. It feels like it's more valuable trading it away than... taking a shot with a junior hockey player who has only played basically half a year one season over the past 2.5 years.
Yeah. Well, and I do wonder. So one of the big themes we saw, we didn't get to touch on it too much, was during the NFL draft. They were just saying there was a lot of senior players that had played a couple extra years. There was lots of essentially role players kind of drafted, right? Defensive linemen, defensemen, but none of those high impact offensive players. And I feel like that's probably what we're going to see a lot right now. Right now they're projected to get Shane Wright first overall. If you were getting the first overall pick and you're getting Shane Wright, whose ceiling is probably closer to say Nico Heishier, less so than a Jack Hughes, and he's definitely not a superstar. That sucks, right? That really kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Why not trade it away? Get somebody who's a little bit more NHL ready. You already have the pieces.
Yeah.
At least a lot of the pieces. You're better off getting somebody who's a few years into development than
Yeah.
rolling the dice with the prospect.
Well, like think of like Ottawa. So Ottawa went through that stretch there where they had a couple early picks, right? And they ended up with Kachuk, and they ended up with Streutzel, and the guys are like, these are building blocks. I know nothing about these players. It seems to me like Shane Wright is below even like that level of the Streutzels, right? And I don't know. It's just unfortunate that that's how it works, right? But you know, sometimes you get F'd in the B.
Yeah, life's not fair, but Montreal's got a lot to be excited about because not many other places in Canada can you go for a $15 lap dance. So, You know what? Montreal still takes a big W in my books.
Nice. All right, there we go. And no other Canadian teams. What's next? Senators at 7. They might do something.
Again, last time we're going to see Senators pick in the top 10 for quite some time, I would say.
I think so. Yeah, no, trending in the right direction. This is just kind of a little bit of gravy on that lap dance. Montreal, gravy on everything. All right, I think that's it. So, big game. We'll get this up right away. In theory, it's kind of about an hour before puck drop in that Bruins game. You'll be able to see this online, at least on YouTube, probably around the same time for the podcast. So hit that up while you're doing your stuff this afternoon.
So... And I had told Mick that I got locked out of my Instagram account, which is why we were flying past the Babe of the Week segment. However, I just did a quick Google search, and this is going to be a surprise for everybody because it won't even let me see Instagram. But the Canada Puck Podcast would not be the Canada Puck Podcast without our Babe of the Week. Bit of a roll of the dice here. You know, it's on theme for how we're doing things this year. Mick, I'm going to give you a name, and you have to give me a rating out of 10 because I just Googled Instagram model. And actually, you know what? Let's make this even more fun. Pick a number from 1 to 50 because it's a 50-person list.
19.
Aw, 19. Liu Wen. LIUWENLW.
LW. All right. Instagram model. She is... We need to find like a picture of her that's not an artistic shot. So that's maybe where we made an error here. In terms of content, I'm going to give this like just based on the other babes of the weeks. If this is who you went to search out, like you're not going to be able to see this, but here's a picture of her mindfully looking out over some like rocks. I'm going to give her a 2. Right. I'm going to give her a 2.
You know what? Yeah, that's not. I'm ashamed of where we ended up on that one. I don't blame you for choosing 19. Probably the best hockey player number of all time. We could have done better. You know what? We could have done worse too. So
very very gorgeous, attractive woman, but like she's like posing next to like a Chanel bag. So,
you know what? Sometimes we do shit work here on Canada Puck.
That's it.
And I'm embarrassed, but here we are. Roll the dice.
So, this is what I have to ask. You got 5 Game 7s coming at you, Grant. How are you? Oh my gosh, look at that. It's like 3D. How are you partaking in this weekend's events?
I was debating going down to watch it in a bar.
Mm-hmm.
This is the conversation I've been having with myself over the last day or so to say, you know what? Maybe it would be fun to go watch the excitement of the non-Calgary team at a bar in Calgary because like they'll be both TVs. I'll be able to watch hockey and baseball. There's not going to be these Flames fans that I feel like I have to correct when they're misspeaking.
Toronto Ginla is a national treasure. he is. We're not going to argue.
Rene Bourque deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame.
All right.
Yeah, None of that shouting. So, I don't know. I suspect I'll probably make it down for a beer. Go check it out somewhere. Right. We'll see. What about you?
Yeah, as of right now, I got nothing. I got my yard work done. The house is cleaned. If I go take the puppy for a little stroll outside, I can be on the couch at 2:30. No issues. And that's it. I don't know. Well, I don't know what kind of shenanigans I'm going to get up to. So,
Uber Eats and Taco Bell.
But yeah.
I mean, that was kind of what I was debating.
Yeah.
Why not go spend $40 on some, queso and delicious burritos, cheesy gordita crunches? I don't know. I don't know what's in my future. I'm going to play it by ear.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yo. Set up a nice positive environment. So if your heart gets broken, you can deal with it. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, as always, I think that this is... You know what? I'm not even going to jinx it. I'm not tempting the universe with fate. I'm excited for what happens over the next couple of days because this is something that we might not see ever again.
No.
5 Game 7s over the course of a weekend.
Yeah.
3 of which feature Canadian teams. We're all in on this one. This is Canada Puck Podcast. If last year was the gold medal, the gold standard, I would say this is a pretty close second.
Oh, like we might be hitting a silver season, but this might go down in history as the most critical, important episode. Game 7s, we got 3 of them on the line to get to the second round. Some big emotions. Yeah, no, it's exciting. That's it. 6 years might be the most important podcast we ever made today.
And you know my rule of 6 is, although that streak doesn't, or that trend doesn't apply to the Canada Puck Podcast, but hopefully it applies to the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight.
Zing.
Zing, zing, zing.
All right. So
all right, man.
No, you say it. You're better. You're better. You're better at saying goodbye.
Well, it was fun as always. Can't wait to, if nothing else, digest this next week with you. We will be back next week. And until then, party on, Mick.
Party on, Grant.
See everybody next week.